Okay. I've never used one of these pointer things, and I'm left-handed? Oh. That baby? No. All right. Okay. What I want to talk about is play area during the construction phase, not after it's been completed. And Vince, can you hear me? Good. There's a reason I'm asking, because Vince, your son lived something like this when he was a student at Wes.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He's at Dartmouth now, for all of you who don't know. Okay. Here is our vision. The big toy, which is currently up here, would be moved back to actually its original location where it was when I became principal, which was right there on the Kershaw Road side of the building, adjacent to the parking lot. The remainder of this area, because the big toy would not take up this whole area, the remainder would be used as a field area. A fence would be constructed along here, and here, so that we would be sure that there would be no balls overflowing into the driveways. A section of blacktop would be laid out right here. Should have seen Dr. Ruby's and me discussing this one. But it would be laid out right here because kids love hopscotch, kids love Foursquare. And we need to provide them with an area on which to play it. That would be right here. Recesses would be staggered to control the number of students out at any time. We already have the precedent for that. Our 5 lunch shifts enable us to send only 1 grade level out at a time, and that's an appropriate number of kids. The recesses that we would have to pay more attention to are the late afternoon recesses when there might be 2 grades out at a time. So that we'd have to stagger. We also would deploy our support staff so that we have sufficient supervision in each of the places. So we could have some kids up here and some kids down here at the same time. So Vince, you might remember that your son had no field for 13 months. That was when the work was going on. Nick showed you the slide before of the playground and the water runoff. And so that remediation took 13 months. We had no field for 13 months. We managed. We found out what games work, what games don't work, what combinations of kids can be out at the same time and can't. So we've learned from that. We've learned how to alternate games. We've learned how to help kids organize their play. So we have a precedent, and we would refer back to that, and also things we know now about organized games to make sure that our kids got all of their exercise that we want them to continue to get and all of their recess.
Construction time frame. Take the west site first. If the board were to approve the west site at the next board meeting in March, figure on about 11 months from March of 2010 to February of 2011 to complete programming, schematic design, design development, and construction documents. About 11 months. And that means we have to move, not talk, we have to move. We would then spend the month of March of 2011 with the bidding process, and the plan would be to begin construction in May of 2011 and have approximately a 15 to 16 month construction period. The children would move in August of 2012. If the board were to select a summit site, the probability, it's probability, you add about 3 months to the entire process. Now, that's based on information from those that you have heard this evening. Let's talk about money. I've been a superintendent for 30-some years. I've experienced many economic booms, and I've experienced many economic downturns. This very, very deep recession that we are either still in, coming out of, or re-entering, depending on the political spin, is very different from the tech bubble in 2000, from the economic downturn in 1987, and from the 14, 15, 16, 17% interest rates in 1970. This time, it's different. And we can only put so much debt on our children and on our grandchildren. And quite frankly, I don't want my grandchild to have any more debt than we've already imposed on him. This time, the economic climate is different. Regardless of project, we have $7 million invested. That's our down payment. Ready to go. We actually have $7.1 million. By September of this coming year, I hope that the board will have $7.5 or $6 million, $500,000 or $600,000 of which will be planned for the NPE future project. In other words, $7 million for the West project, down payment. The West Site project, West Site, estimated to be $18,500,000. An annual net mortgage payment, I want to call it. It's a debt service payment. I'm going to call it an annual net mortgage payment. Net meaning gross minus state reimbursement of 5%. See, we don't have the luxury of being an 87% state reimbursement school district, or 60%, or 40%, or 20%. We're 5%, which means every dime we spend, I'm taking directly out of your pocket. Annual debt net, $815,995. That's based on a schedule run by RBC. 20 years, 20-year debt. Coupon, I believe, is 5.43. Am I right, Lorraine? On average? 4.23, I'm sorry. 4.23 average coupon over the 20 years. Total debt net over 20 years. West Site, 16,346,556, about 16.3 million. Summit Site, same 7 million down. Net annual payment, $996,837. About $180,000 difference annually for 20 years. In my opinion, count on $180,000 to $200,000 of annual debt difference for 20 years. Total debt net difference, Summit is $19,899,092, about $3.5 million. Count on $3.5 million to $3.75 million difference over the 20 years.